Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to talk candidly about this for just a moment. This video is going to be on like signs that a guru is selling you, or signs that someone's more interested in selling you a bill of goods or selling you something as opposed to actually like what's in your best interest. So I hope this gets received well. It's kind of a weird topic to talk about because when you talk about gurus or people who are like selling crap, I mean, it's kind of weird, right? Because it's a weird psychology where if you bought into something that was a waste of your time, a lot of times people don't want to admit that they made a bad decision, so they will defend that purchase even if it wasn't a great purchase and they know it. It's just kind of a psychological thing. So this video is not targeting anybody. If you figure out, I mean, these are some real things that have happened to me or that I've seen, but unfortunately there's some shady people out there who just care about making money off you, and hopefully this will help you avoid some of that. So let's start. Before we dig in, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you got some value out of this video as we go through. So salesmen and saleswomen have a really bad reputation they've gained over the years. Now, I don't believe this reputation is accurate, as there are a lot of good salespeople out there. That being said, here's some signs that you're being sold a bill of goods, and you should probably stay away from this type or these types of salespeople, right? So the first reason is that they speak in absolutes. Their way is the only way. One of the first things you will notice is that these gurus, they speak in absolutes all the time. For example, if a real estate investor believes that there is absolutely no way that you can be successful investing in the stock market and they don't diversify at all, that's a red flag to me. There are so many different ways to build wealth, and every normal wealthy person I know understands this. So they may invest mainly in one asset class, which is fine, but they should at least acknowledge that there are other legitimate ways to achieve success. So I, for one, am primarily invested in real estate. Nonetheless, I still have a little money that I gamble with in the stock market, as well as over a year's salary invested in my thrift savings plan, right, and growing. And some small investments in private businesses here and there. So now ultimately, I'm all for specializing in a certain investment strategy. And the moment somebody starts telling you, especially if it's unsolicited advice, that you shouldn't invest in anything else, it's a red flag. This is especially true if they suggest cashing out your retirement account or using your credit card to take on excessive amounts of debts to invest with them or in their strategy, right? If they're willing to mention that you shouldn't cash out your TSP to go buy whole life, that's a problem. And just don't take on those kinds of crazy risks, especially if they're getting commission for telling you that. They focus on fear as number two. So if you don't do it their way, you're going to fail, right? So that's fear mongering, which is a term that's become more and more mainstream over the last few years, and for good reason. But there are a lot of people who use it as a tactic to advance their position on things. For example, check this out. If you weren't scared of being overweight or unhealthy, why would you work out, right? Makes sense. If you weren't scared of going broke, why would you save money instead of just enjoying every penny of it? So fear is an extremely powerful motive. But that being said, you need to be able to spot the fear-mongering tactic objectively and see it for what it is. If the main point of this person's argument is that you will fail without them, it may be worth looking elsewhere for advice, because that's just not, like, it's just not, yeah, no. Number three is that they won't talk commission structure publicly. And that's a big one for me. Like, this is a huge red flag. You need to know how the person that is selling you gets compensated. Real estate agents, for example, they're out in the open with their commission structure. Everybody knows real estate agents that get like 3% commission, right? And they receive a commission, generally 3%. It's a great practice for them to be out in the open. So then this is when they find a buyer for a home or they sell a listing, right? Like, it's open kimono, There are actually strict rules about what can and cannot be done with the commission in the real estate world on the agent and the lender side. But like a less regulated and more murky market, if you will, is the insurance industry. I often see insurance salesmen pushing whole life insurance as the absolute best solution for everybody. And while there is certainly a time and place for whole life, and there are some really interesting strategies that you can use with it, use with whole life to help build wealth, it shouldn't be blanket advice, right? No investing advice should be blanket advice. That goes back to the speaking in absolutes. But I haven't met an insurance salesman yet who would openly discuss their commission structure with me. In fact, I still don't even know exactly what it is because it's hard to find anywhere. And most of them don't even want to mention how much more money they make from selling you whole life versus term life, and it's a lot more. I mean, substantially more. Now, this isn't meant to be a jab at the insurance industry. There are many examples of places where they are very secretive about how they get paid. The reason you want to know this is to know how they incentivize to sell. So are they incentivized for your best interest or to push a specific product on you, right? So I would say it's safe to assume that if they get way more money, like way more money for whole life, they're probably trying to push you that way. Now, understanding the motivation behind what they're recommending to you and seeing it objectively is a great way to ensure that you make the right decision. Fourth tactic of these people is that they try to take the conversations offline immediately. One of the fastest ways to raise a red flag for me is by sending unsolicited messages to me. This is so indicative of spam that I have my keywords on my Facebook group set up so that I will see when somebody says they just messaged unsolicited, right? That way I can go in and see what they're pushing, right? So if you're privately messaged by somebody without asking them to message you, it's a good sign that they're trying to sell you a bill of goods. If they were genuinely trying to help you with valuable advice, they wouldn't be afraid to comment on that post publicly, right? They would just give their advice. My favorite is when somebody joins my Facebook group and they post introduction to themselves saying like, hey, I'm from San Diego and I own this house here and whatever. And then somebody's like, boom, PM sent, or I just messaged you, or sending you a message now, or whatever. Or they're like, I'm the best agent here and I'm a lender here. And it's like the person never even mentioned that they need to find a real estate agent. They didn't even say they're looking for anything, right? So it's like, I see that kind of spammy message stuff all over the place, trying to solicit business all the time, and it drives me nuts. So check this out. I'm gonna lay this out here right now. The people who are messaging you directly or pitching their business on posts when you're not even asking about that, they're not the best in their business. If they were truly good at their job, they wouldn't need to solicit business by spamming people and just slamming their information all over the place. They wouldn't do that. They would have the business. They would be, yeah, trust me. Also, if you're in my Facebook group and you are looking for an agent or a lender, I have a huge network of people I recommend, and the people who are commenting that stuff are doing so because they're not in the network of people I've vetted and recommend. So just food for thought. Number 5, I think we're on, they show gross numbers when talking about success. Now this is especially true for like drop shipping, right? So a surefire sign that something is amiss is when you only see gross numbers. Now I've seen this all over the place when people are selling courses on drop shipping or short-term rental Airbnb stuff, or most recently the Amazon automation stories. You'll often see this as a form of, why should you listen to me? Because over the last few years I've made X millions of dollars doing such and such. And they'll pan over to their screen, which shows a bunch of numbers that you don't even know if it's really their account, and then it's all gross revenue. They don't mention how much of that money went to expenses or what realistic expectations are. They just show you simply how much money they made, and sometimes it doesn't even tell you over what time span. It's just a bunch of fucking numbers on a screen, right? So that's another trick that's easy to miss if you're not savvy with their method of generating income. Now, look, maybe it's just me, but talking about money, and more money is not the way to sell me on something. Also, you should always be skeptical when somebody negates mentioning the downsides or expenses associated with the upsides of their income, right? Anything that requires you to wire people funds is number 6. Just no. Don't ever wire funds to anybody. Just no. Unless they send you like I wired funds the other day for closing on a property. Okay, great. To my escrow company. That's pretty safe. Don't ever wire funds anywhere other than an escrow company for any real estate transaction. If you want more information on this, I wrote an article about common scams, and it's all in there for the wire transfer stuff. Another interesting thing that I've seen before is having people pay for your product in order to earn the opportunity to be in your spotlight. I suppose that's no different than them paying for a certificate, but I think it's cheesy to have somebody pay for your product and then spend 30 days promoting your group or product in order to be recognized as having achieved something. It's just kind of like, if it feels slimy, it probably is. So anyways, look, there's a lot of gurus out there. Nobody's going to look out for your interests more than you will. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with buying these courses, this coaching, this mentorship, these masterminds, or whatever. In fact, I highly recommend these things. Just make sure you're not falling prey to some bullshit guru, and make sure you're getting legitimately what you are paying for, right? So if you want to learn more about how to debunk gurus, check out my buddy Spencer Cornelia's YouTube channel, where he posts a series called Authentic or Charlatan, or there's another one called CoffeeZilla, another YouTube who exposes so-called gurus. Their videos are awesome, and make sure to let them know that I gave them a shout out in this video. Shameless. But yeah, that's my thoughts on finding gurus. They both got great channels. Just know what you're getting into, and make sure you do business with legitimate people and not some of this spammy crap. If you did not already, you should like this video and click subscribe. And welcome to the Military Millionaire community. Let's get fucking rich.